from the Realm platform, RELM, the best in podcast entertainment. It's DaveTV for 16 March 2015. How y'all doing, everybody? Yep, it's me, back again. This is a beautiful day today. It's pushing 70 degrees. The ice is quickly melting on Lake Thoreau, and here I am. So anyway, I thought I would do a little Dave TV for you today. Let's see, where can we put the camera so it's not going to fall in the lake? I don't know. Anyway, why don't we I'll just hold it here. So I put it on that railing there, it's going to fall in the lake. I don't want to do that. Anyway, so anyhow, here's the deal, okay? Big news of yesterday was the fact that ESPN980, Sports Talker, which is owned by Redskins owner Dan Snyder's Red Zebra Broadcasting, we heard from a whole bunch of different sources that this new ManCave show, which was announced back in February, supposed to have Jason Reed, his former Washington Post sports writer, and Chris Paul, who's a longtime DC broadcasting vet, worked at PGC, HURKYSBET, whatever. And they were supposed to be united, paired up, and they were supposed to have a show. And it was supposed to start this morning, the 16th of March, 2015, 6 o'clock. And as of yesterday, and we got some rumblings the day before, that, hey, it ain't going to happen. So I get a whole bunch, I'm getting all these sources from the station and from the people in the advertising community and the broadcasting community, and the whole thing is, you know, the line I'm getting basically is that somebody in Dan Snyder's organization didn't like what what Jason Reed wrote about the Redskins. Now, you can't be a columnist or a reporter at the Washington Post or anywhere in the Washington area that has to write about the Redskins and not write negative stuff, because there's lots of negative stuff to write about the Redskins. The team's been losing for years. They've had a lot of personnel problems. They've had different coaches. They had a lot of management problems, whatever. So there's a lot of negative stuff about the Redskins. So if you're a sports writer worth your salt and you've been covering the Redskins over the last couple of years, there's going to be lots of times where you're writing negative stuff about the team, about the management, about the coaches, about the ownership organization. That's just a given. You know, if the team was great, I was going to the playoffs every year, maybe you wouldn't, but it's been a lousy couple of years for the Redskins. Okay? So that's that. So obviously you're looking at Jason's past, and he's written some negative stuff about whatever. And so the line I'm getting spun is that somebody in the Redskins organization doesn't like what Jason's written, and therefore, at the last minute, the show's been kind of scrapped, and they're not going to do it, and that's that. Now, that makes some sense, I guess. But then I've been talking around and giving this stuff some time to settle over the last day or so. And one of my really good radio guys, should I mention him? Yeah, what the hell? I'll give him some credit. Jim Williams. Good friend Jim Williams. Jim Williams has this, and he says to me, Dave, you know, Jim writes for a bunch of different publications. He writes for Press Box up in Baltimore like I do. He writes for some Jewish newspaper in Baltimore. He's been all over the place. He writes syndicated stuff and all this other stuff. Anyway, Jim tells me, he goes, you know, Dave, that might be right what they're telling you at the line you're getting from Red Zebra or from the people there that work at sources and in the advertising community, whatever you're getting. But here's the other thing. Dan Snyder has a deal with ESPN to run his radio station. He's got a deal with them. He has their logo, ESPN980. He's a franchisee, so to speak, of ESPN. And to be honest with you, he doesn't run a lot of regular ESPN programming on his station. You look at Coney Kornheiser, who, you know, even though he has a show on ESPN, he's not syndicated by ESPN for radio. You look at, you know, the sports fixie things, the Zabin, a local show that runs with Chris Cooley, that's not an ESPN product. In fact, even Zabin, you know, some of his other stuff, well, anyway, so we're getting into that. But they do run Mike and Mike in the mornings, okay? Mike and Mike from 6 to 10 in the mornings. That's an ESPN show. And that's probably, as on a weekday basis, the only show, significant show, that ESPN 980 runs. So you go to ESPN and you say, look, we're taking Mike and Mike off of ESPN 980, and we're going to put a local show on there. okay? What is ESPN supposed to do? Ah! You know, oh, well, we're going to take Mike and Mike and we're going to stick them on 570, which is a much weaker signal. It's much lower in the ratings. You know, at least with ESPN 980, you got a 50,000 watt daytime signal. You got two FMers relaying you, 92.7 and 94.3. So, you know, it's a major major revenue station in the market. And it gets decent ratings. And we're going to put them on 570, the spaz. You know, somebody's saying ESPN can't be happy with that. They can't be happy. You know, the only significant show that's run on a daily basis by Dan Snyder's ESPN formatted or whatever franchise station is Mike and Mike. And they're getting yanked over to 570. And Jim's comment to me was, you know, despite this rumbling you're hearing from all these folks in the broadcasting business about how somehow what Jason wrote wasn't liked by somebody in Redskins management, and that's why they're getting the show bounced before it even started. The real reason may be just simply ESPN saying to Snyder, look, we don't like the fact that you're taking Mike and Mike off this major station and plopping them on another station that doesn't have half the coverage or half the ratings or whatever. And that could be the main reason. Now the question is, ding dong, why did it get this far? Why did it get this far? You know, why did ESPN management propose a show, say we're going to go ahead with it, and announce that in mid-February, and then we have 4 weeks leading up to it, and then just right before the show starts, it gets bounced. That's a little bit mysterious. You know, you would have thought right off the bat, ESPN would have said, no, you can't take Mike and Mike off 980. Now, Mike and Mike doesn't get the ratings that Dan Snyder wants. I mean, they want a top-rated show in the morning. You look at ESPN, you know, Mike and Mike, they're syndicated, they're not local. Most people that are listening to sports radio in the morning are listening to the junkies over there on CBS's 106.7 The Fan. So, you know, obviously the local programming people at 980 want to do something in the mornings to get their ratings up. And that makes sense. It does make sense. You know, have these two guys, Reed and Paul, and put together a morning show. But it just, the mysteriousness of it is, why did it get so far as it did and then not make it on the air? You would think that somebody from ESPN in the initial stages of this announcement would have said, hey, we don't want Mike and Mike relegated to another signal. You know, you hardly run any ESPN programming on a weekday basis. You know, why? You're taking off the only, you know, the major morning show, and you're going to stick it on another signal. So, to be honest with you, that to me makes more sense than anything else. Than, you know, listening to some of these folks saying that, hey, someone in Snyder's organization didn't like what Jason Reed wrote. I mean, come on. You're going to have any reporter on any show on ESPN 980, and they're going to have criticism of the Redskins. That's just the way it goes. So, anyway, I don't know. That's my rumination for today. Crazy times. You know, you just got to know that the folks at CBS's 106.7 The Fan are just sitting there laughing. You know, and I think they would be concerned. I think they would be concerned if, you know, ESPN 980 was starting a locally based show for mornings. That would hurt the junkies. And I think there's a sigh of relief there over at CBS's new studios there in Southeast D.C., near a block or two from Nationals Park, that all this chaos is going on at Red Zebra. And that looks like Mike and Mike are going to stay on 980 for the foreseeable future. And there won't be a local morning show on ESPN 980 WTEM for whatever reason. So there we go. We're out on a little island today, the Realm Island, the Realm Dock, here on a beautiful 60-ish or 65, 70 degree day. Got my pants on, got boots, doing a little hiking around the lake. Thanks for watching Dave TV for the 16th of March, 2015. Adios, amigos.